now going to show you how to prepare a saddle of lamb. Okay, so we're going to start with the saddle now. This is saddle or short saddle, rumps taken off that end, the best ends off the other end. This could be cut across that way into double chops or Barnsley chops, or it could be split in half that way and just cut through into loin chops, as I'm sure you've seen in your butcher shops, just loin chops. Or you can bone the whole thing out and stuff it as a whole stuffed roast saddle of lamb. Or you could strip everything out just down to the loins, or the cannons, as I'm sure you know, cannons of lamb are these parts that run through the loin. Or as I'm going to do, I'm going to split it in half, and I'm going to prepare each half as a saddle, not stuffed. I'm going to take the fillets off, put them back in place, and prepare it that way. Okay, so we'll start off. We'll take the fillets off the side, inside there. So literally just run the knife along. That's one. And the second one. Straight out. Okay, so if I was to prepare this as a keep the saddle whole for stuffing and rolling, etc., I would take the bone out there. I'd keep the saddle, the whole thing intact. But since I'm going to do it in two separate halves, I don't have to keep the whole thing, so I can go straight down the back there in the bone. Take that clean off. There's one long bone in there just to take out. Take half, same the other side. One long bone there. Right, next thing would be to clean this up. So I want to take most of this fat out. Again, as I was saying, if you wanted just cannons of lamb, you could just carry on there and take that whole piece of meat straight off. And then trim that. But I want to keep this flap on. So I'm just trimming it back, taking most of the fat. Probably to about there. There's a piece of sinew that runs along here. I'm going to get that out because it's not very nice to eat. And just clean it down as much as you want. Any gristle, anything you see that you don't think will eat very well, just take it out. Like I say, all the trim gets used, so there's no waste involved. Then you take your fillet. Again, separate that, pull the chain off. Any sinews, pretty much just pull it off with your hand. Okay, so take my trimmed fillet, lightly dust the surface with your meat glue. And then place, obviously, the fattest end down to the thinnest end of your loin, so that it's nice and even. And now I'm going to put it into a backpack bag, vacuum pack it, and leave that for about 6 hours to set. Okay, so there you have it, vacuum packed. You've got the fillet nicely glued. Leave that for about 6 hours. As I say, that will then set, and you'll have a nice solid piece of meat with a fat covering on one side, which you could either roast whole or cut into portions, maybe in 2 or 3, depending on what you're doing with it. Okay, with the other half of the loin or saddle, again, trim it up exactly the same way. This time we'll leave the flap on, so we'll take this excess fat out, down to there. But we'll leave the flap end intact there. We'll take the fillet, now what we could do at this stage, we could have a mousse or a stuffing, as if you're doing, same as if you were doing a whole stuffed saddle of lamb. You do the same thing but with half a saddle. So you would put your mousse along there, or you could put sausage like black pudding or chorizo, whatever you wanted, in that half, and then roll it. For now we're going to put the fillet back in as we did on the last one, but this time without gluing it. Like I say, if you had some stuffing or something you wanted to put in at this stage, you could, but then you would just fold it around that way and then just tie it off into a joint. A few strings along, just enough to hold it, give it a bit of shape. Obviously if it's stuffed, you don't want to pull it too tight so that all your stuffing comes out the ends, but in this case it's just the meat, so you can take it quite tight. And there you have a nice little sort of stuffed half saddle there, ready to roast. Or again, you could cut into individual joints. Okay, so that's two different preparations of a saddle. Like I say, you can do the whole thing, stuff it whole, just when you take the bone out, keep the saddle whole, don't split it in half, or you can split it in half that way.